Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Let's get ready to be at our best now. Be at our best.
Yeah, it's going to be a boring one today.
Those guys don't all suck.
You son of a B.
ASAP, any score, any place, you know we bring well. We bout there. We'll pull up on anybody and get it done.
Suck it, Raiders.
He is dicked.
I love you, Dick, but
Joe, start fast.
They're the next team on our schedule, and we trying to do something big here. We trying to win a Super Bowl.
It's another beautiful day.
It is.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Charger Chat. I'm your co-host, Wool Dog, sitting with two beautiful Duggan bros. Duggan bro number one is Kev Huggin Duggan.
I am number one. This is true.
You are. And Kyle, the coach Duggan.
Beta 2.
Number one because you were born first, but alphas always come second. Everybody knows that.
First one through the door always takes it in the face. Well, folks, as we talked about on our instant reaction, we are sitting on a beautiful 1-0 right now. It feels so good.
So
and
nice.
It was just a great game. To break it down for you folks, I'm going to try this. I'm going to give you all a little game summary as far as to what happened this last game so we can all be on the same page. Game started pretty slow. 3 back and forths between the Bengals and the Chargers punting away. But on that second drive was when we saw our beloved Drew Tranquill going down and break what we now know was his fibula bone. Fibula bone. Say that 5 times fast.
Fibula bone.
Fibula bone.
Fibula.
You see, even the Huggins can't do it. So thoughts and prayers are with Drew. They haven't necessarily said whether or not he is out for the season. I have a feeling that that's what will end up happening. But at the same time, we will still wait and see. Continuing on with the game, however, Chargers ended up committing 5 penalties in the first quarter, which ended up creating 3 first downs for the Bengals. Pretty surprising and kind of out of character for the Chargers. And the end of Cincinnati's 4th drive was when we saw Burrow running in for a touchdown as if we opened the gates of heaven for him to just waltz on in there. It was weird, man. It looked like blown coverage or just something happened. I don't know. Coach might give us a little bit of a breakdown here later.
Maybe.
But all was not lost because we saw Jerry Tillery ending up getting his first sack of the season in game 1. Jerry, my boy, it is good to see you out there. Second quarter looked a little bleak when we went in on 4th down, seeming like an easy gimme, and Tyrod attempting a QB sneak. We did not get it. Defense continued to look good. Sack went to Uchenna Nwosu, and Joey Bosa getting one for himself as well. Chargers finally got in the red zone after Tyrod threw a deep bomb to Mike Williams, who played like there was no issue whatsoever. I mean, he was catching them all. Big, deep stretch catches and falling and hitting. And I mean, if it hurt, he certainly didn't show it. But after not finding pay dirt in the end zone, we settled for a field goal. Later in the half, Chargers made another attempt for a 4th down conversion, but were unsuccessful again. Yeah, there was a lot of wincing going on, a lot of, come on, what's going on? What's happening? But we did get the ball back after Cincy's 3 and outs, and Chargers were able to get the ball close enough for another field goal from Badgley, ending the half at 7-6. Not too bad, a 1-point game. Third quarter, only saw a pair of field goals from Cincinnati's kicker, and Badgley missed a 50-yarder, which wasn't a gimme by any stretch, but at the same time, knowing that he can hit a 59er was a little bit of a bummer. That's for sure. Definitely didn't give us the cushion that we were hoping to get. But offense continued to make some strides, including a nice 45-yard kick return from rookie Joe Reed. Welcome to the Chargers, buddy. I knew we had somebody that can make a good return. And the start of the 4th quarter, Chargers finally get to pay dirt with Joshua Kelley paving the way, getting his first NFL touchdown. That was a beautiful thing. Bengals' next drive ended up getting turned over thanks to a fumble from Joe Glue with Glove Mixon, care of Denzel Perryman, to the hands of ex-Cincinnati Bengal Nick Vigil. So that was an excellent turnover. By the way, spoiler alert, Chargers did not turn over the ball at all this game. The only turnovers we had was on those 4th down tries, but other than that, we did not see a single turnover, which was just amazing and not of Charger characteristic to see, at least comparatively to last year. Bolts ended up getting a field goal off of the fumble, so that was nice. Bengals' next drive ended up with Burrow shovel passing it right into the paws of Melvin Ingram, who graciously accepted the gift of the football. The score was looking 16-13. Chargers had the lead. It came down to a missed field goal from Randy Bullock, and Chargers walked away with an ugly win, but a win all the same. So lots to digest here, folks. It was tumultuous to say the least. But what were some of your favorite moments of the game there, guys? Kevin, I know you got a hot take sitting in your back pocket.
Yeah, man. I just really loved what I saw from our running backs. Clearly we didn't have our starting offensive line in there. So seeing that, Tyrese St. Louis and, all the guys that kind of stepped in and filled in for our starters did well enough to have Austin Eckler almost rush for 100 yards. And Joshua Kelley on 12 carries had 60 yards and a touchdown.
Nice.
So we just had good production with the ball. And Joshua Kelley was a huge standout for me in this game. Just his vision. There's one play where he was met in the backfield by 3 Cincinnati Bengals, spun out of that, got through into the second level, made another person miss, and got 7 or 8 yards.
Nice.
So beyond excited for Joshua Kelley and what he's got going on. And then while we're on running backs, I did mention last episode that Mr. Mixon hadn't fumbled the ball in like 500 something carries.
Absolutely.
And guess what happened this game? We called it here first. Denzel Perriman forced a fumble, and oh my God, was it sweet. That was as soon as it happened, I was just pumped because that's a long time to not fumble, and there it was. So
absolutely,
those were kind of my favorite moments of the game. There was some other stuff, but Kyle, what you got? What's your favorite moment from the game?
Yeah, so being a defensive coach my whole life, I always look to defensive stats to get excited. The offensive stuff is easy to freak out about. It's much easier for an offense to have a good game and then next week turn around and have a bad game. So defensive consistency is what I like to see. And what I really loved is we didn't give up any huge plays. There was no deep ball flipping the field, like 30, 40-yard run type plays. We kept everything in front of us, and we said, Joe Burrow, if you're going to beat us, you're going to have to put together some long drives. And he wasn't able to do that consistency. So that mindset has been consistent with the Chargers. We obviously have in the past have seen some big plays due to blown coverage, but it was nice to see that in week 1 with no preseason games, there weren't too many huge blown coverage plays. Now we'll talk about the Joe Burrow run, but for the most part, the other however many 80 some odd plays that we were on defense, there was no huge plays given up, which is extremely encouraging to our consistency. How about you, Old Dog? What was your favorite thing?
Yeah, just to kind of tack on to that, seeing that the defense or the teams comparatively going into it, Chargers had 232 yards going into the half. Bengals only had 88 yards total. So seeing the defense being able to hold those guys from those big drives, I mean, the D line looks insane. Like they just looked so good coming into this game. That was really the one thing that we had to hold on to. The offense struggled, and we'll get into all of that too. But just seeing our rookie players getting an opportunity, the running backs, seeing our second-year guys like Jerry Tillery showing up. Like Jerry Tillery, to me, was almost the highlight because it was like, man, we drafted you first last year, and we saw Butkus. So to see him come in and get a sack right there in the first half was just beautiful. I've really kept my fire burning for this team.
It was great seeing what Linval Joseph did too. Like we did not get gouged
game
for
changer.
anything. Those running backs didn't get much out of our defense all game. So it's the one huge bright side of this game was the defense and how they were able to, they're not the Kansas City Chiefs, but they were able to lock these guys down. So that's promising for game 2.
So
absolutely,
with all the good, as yin and yang happens, comes the bad. What were some of the issues that you guys saw in this game? Because it was a win, but it was an ugly win.
Yeah, I would say it's just a consistent thing that I just get frustrated with is our just inability to capitalize on red zone drives. It just seems like it's just consistent every single year. We get down there into the red zone and we just pucker up and can't get the ball in the end zone. We're not finishers, man. We can't make it happen. And it's just real frustrating that we did it there. That run by Joshua Kelley, and what that came from running the ball. You know, when you get in the red zone, you got to be able to run the ball a little bit, and that's clearly what our team's about. Last year, I looked at the stats. Last year in 2019, our week 1 game against the Colts, that we went into overtime, so there was even more football played. Ran the ball 21 times for 125 yards. This year, week 1 that we just played against the Bengals, 39 rushes for 155 yards, including 6 rushes from our quarterback. So our rushing attempts are significantly higher. That has to translate to better performance in the red zone. So for me, it looked like we kind of lost what we were supposed to do in the red zone because we threw the ball 2 or 3 times there when we got down close, instead of really just trying to create an identity and pound the ball in. So that was disappointing for me. What about you, Kev, Doug? What do you think?
Yeah, it's for me, and it's kind of like the hot button thing everyone's talking about right now is our quarterback play, is Tyrod. Like, it was what I'm trying to just reset my brain is that when I watch Charger football, I have watched Phillip Rivers for so long.
Right.
I'm expecting a Phillip Rivers type of passing and performance. And
yeah, right.
He was a gunslinger. We don't have a gunslinger anymore. That's not what Tyrod Taylor is. And it was more evident on this game than anything. Didn't turn the ball over. Had no touchdowns.
Tyrod
didn't turn the ball over.
That's very much a Tyrod game. Yeah.
No touchdowns. And I what I'm curious about is some of the play calling too. How much was Phil changing plays at the line of scrimmage? Because I'm feeling like that might have hidden some of Shane Steichen. What is it? I can't remember.
Steichen.
Steichen.
You always want to say Steichen.
Steichen. I'm just gonna whatever. I'm gonna roll with it. I just like maybe Phil was hiding some of his inferior, game plans, because I just didn't feel like we were, we barely got Eckler the ball out of the backfield, pass, check downs. We didn't do any of that stuff. Yeah. So I was kind of questioning the play calling on a lot of things, especially some of those 4th down attempts. Like, I love them being aggressive, but when you have your backup guards and you have a backup center in there that, it's just not their normal positions that they always play. I don't know why you wouldn't just bring in Gabe Neighbors and put one of those 2 running backs behind him and just run it up the middle.
Right.
That there was just some confusing
that's just
moments.
it. You have backups in.
Right.
So
but that's why I throw Gabe
as much as work.
Throw Neighbors in, and then you get a momentum.
No. That's the last thing you want to do. No, you put Gabe Neighbors in the game for the first time all game. They're going to put 12 guys in the box. They'll bring an extra man on the field, and then you got no chance of doing anything. You just said yourself we had 2 backups in the inside, so there's no way that's the right call. I do think that he's okay. So put yourself in Shane's shoes. You right before the game, you find out you're shuffling 3 guys around on your offensive line.
Yeah,
he's trying to cover up holes. He's doing his best to cover up, and they know that was a game where we got to buckle down and get a W somehow.
I didn't know you
there were
had a love
things,
affair with Shane Steichen.
Look, man, you come after coaches, I'm going to defend him to my death because the shit you get as a coach is so much of the time has no ground, and you just unfortunately we don't know what was going on.
Right.
There's a lot of different like revolving pieces. One of the main things, this is our first time him coaching for calling plays for Tyrod, calling plays for this whole brand new offense.
Right.
There's gonna be a feeling out period, 100%, no doubt about it.
Right.
And there's certain things that, I think I heard an interview with Coach Lynn that was like, look, we're rolling out more now. That check down to the running back isn't always there. You're rolling to one side of the field. There's not always that quick check down. Also, we had backup guys in the game. You're wanting that running back to stay in to help block, which they did a lot. A lot of times there was very late delayed leak outs. So they were standing to get a chip before they leaked out of the backfield, which doesn't allow the opportunity for, and also, Phil's one of the biggest check down quarterbacks in all the league. He is the guy that targets his running backs because he's checking down right away. If that look isn't there, he's checking down.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want everyone to be cautious of getting on Shane right away for play calling. Let's give this a couple of weeks. I know no one was happy with the way that the offense performed. You go talk to the guys on the team; they're not going to be happy with the way that they performed either.
I think the question that I was proposing though is that what was Phil doing versus what we have now, and what was he changing at the line of scrimmage, and
right.
what we have now
And
is
we
he
don't
just
know.
going with the play call. So
Right.
I'm curious how
Yeah, it's
that
possible.
improved Shane's stats, if you will. Not to throw him under the bus just yet. That's just a thought
Yeah.
I had. The sensitive Kyle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, the offense as a whole was tough to watch. The not having any preseason games. I mean, you could see it from the guys that were getting injured. I'm serious. I think there was something going on with that field. There were some guys doing a lot of slipping around, not able to really plant their feet. I saw it from both sides. I think AJ Green had a slip earlier on, and there was Tyrod Taylor, I think, had a slip in one of the plays. So to not have good field conditions is already concerning, and to go into that without any preseason games, already down. I sent the text to you guys game day. There was like 5 or 6 guys that were not going to make it to the game that were injured that we were expecting to play. And it was like, what the fuck? Like, it was just like, it was all so secretive. Like the Mike Pouncey injury, I still don't know what's going on with that. I know it's his hip, but like what happened? Like we didn't get the same kind of dramatized Twitter of like, Derwin came down and, he was holding his leg. He threw his glove. We don't know what's going on. Like none of that happened with Pouncey. It was just like, oh, Pouncey's in a polo. Looks pretty good. And all of a sudden he's not playing in the game. It's like, well, wait a minute. Like, what did he do? Like, did he slip coming out of the shower? Did he bowl too hard? Like,
seriously,
was he line dancing and he
Trey
broke
Turner
a hip?
too? What the hell happened to Trey Turner?
So I think we got the injury report. We can get into that, but I think what I've gathered from the Pouncey thing and what some people on Twitter, were talking about was that Pouncey had issues with his hips pretty much his entire career in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
And the big report was that they were saying is that he was going to need a hip replacement before he turns 40. That was where that's where his hips are.
Mm.
And a quote, I'll just jump into the injury report.
Let's do it
on it. So basically what coach said was we knew about his hip when we brought Mike here, and Mike has toughed it out, Lynn said, but this is not the time to do it. This is the time to get Mike as healthy as we can and get him some rest. So this is not he didn't hurt himself in practice. This is something that he's been dealing with
flared up
consistently, and it flared up. And don't rush him out, make it worse, and you lose him for the season. That's kind of what the approach has been, what it sounds like for Pouncey. And thank you for some of our Twitter friends for dropping that on us. So appreciate it.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
The injuries were fast and furious in this game for Drew Tranquill, man. The heart just broke seeing
my
that.
heart's broken for Drew Tranquill.
Like, because he wasn't just a backup or anything like that. He was a rookie with a lot of promise potential.
Yeah, second-year guy that was supposed to break out.
Yeah, we really wanted him to slide in there and just wreak havoc, and to have him go down that quickly was just absolutely heartbreaking. And then to find out that it wasn't necessarily a broken ankle, but a broken fibula, which for those that don't know, you got two big bones in your calf. The fibula is the smallest of the two. And I'm assuming it's broken down by his ankle because it spreads the whole length of the calf. So I don't know, man. They put him on IR. They haven't necessarily ruled him out to not come back later on this season, but I don't know. Like, that doesn't sound like something that you can bounce back from and be ready to go week 15, week 16.
From all accounts, though, from what I've seen and what has happened, like breaks are easier to come back from than like ligament tears or that kind of stuff. Like,
right. Well, when the bone heals, it heals stronger. It's just a matter of, he's going to be off that thing for so long that getting the strength back is what's going to be tough for him, and being back at playing speed.
That makes sense.
So maybe when we're competing for the AFC West and making a run in the playoffs.
There you go.
It's like a Hunter Henry type thing. Hey, remember Hunter broke broke his kneecap,
Right.
and then ended up coming back for the playoffs. So
Right.
it might be that kind of a situation.
Okay. Well, we will all wait with bated breath. But as we mentioned, Trey Turner was another guy ending up on the injury report that we were not necessarily anticipating being on that injury report. But I guess Anthony Lynn said the team decided to play it safe with his knee injury, adding that he likes the chances better of playing this weekend against the Chiefs.
He got hurt. He got hurt on that big day, but it wasn't really news because it was the same day as Derwin. The Derwin day is the day that Trey Turner also hurt his knee during that scrimmage. So that's what he's been dealing with. And the fact that coach was hoping he was going to play last Sunday, that's even more promising for next week, which we need, because if we're going to win that game, we're going to need to control the clock and get our running game going. So we desperately need Trey Turner to just give us a little bump in that area, in my opinion. But that's from everything I've heard, that's what's up with Trey Turner. So fingers crossed.
Fingers absolutely crossed. And Justin Jackson on the injury report, we saw a couple plays from him, but then we also saw Joshua Kelley getting thrown into the mix there, and Justin seemed to take a bit of a back seat. But I guess it's his quad. And they were saying, we're not sure how severe that is. We'll try to work with him in practice sometime this week if he can. It will be a day-to-day deal, Lynn said about Jackson. So
he's always
Justin
hurt,
Jackson,
man.
He can't catch a break. Every time he has a good game, he gets hurt or an opportunity pops up. Now Joshua Kelley comes in and just freaking dominates.
Right.
And now he's hurt. Kelley looked good. Justin Jackson's going to be the number 3 guy now.
Did you see the thing they put up with Joshua Kelley where he flat backed that linebacker? Chargers.com put it up, and they replayed it and replayed it and replayed it and replayed it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
He's a
Is he in pass blocking?
No, he had the ball. He was running. He went straight up the middle, and I guess I think Bulaga got a piece of one of the linebackers. Then he wrecked him. So seeing the power that he has is great, because when you watch his tape, it's not that he looks like a smaller guy, but he hits, and
he's got power, man.
Previous running back is fumbling for the Broncos as we speak. So I'm glad we have a new power back on our team.
Absolutely. Yeah. The struggles for the run game were tough. It was tough to see Tyrod not hooking up with Keenan Allen very much. I mean, he got 35, 36 yards in the game for Keenan Allen. So hopefully these guys can take this game as a preseason practice, walking away with a win.
Eked out a W while practicing.
Yep.
We all know the team has to know where they need to fix and what they need to fix.
Yeah.
So
it's a long season, man.
It's a long season with no preseason.
Yeah.
And God, next week we play against the Super Bowl defending champs, the Kansas City Chiefs.
Let's go.
At SoFi Stadium. So it's going to be, I watched the Chiefs game. They looked pretty damn solid. Everybody in the AFC West, I think Kevin mentioned it before we started recording, or Kyle, I can't remember which one, but talking about how tough this division is looking, and cheesy, crazy, man. It's going to be, we're going to have to earn it. I think that's bottom line.
Yeah,
we got to
sure.
really put in the time. So, looking at the Kansas City Chiefs.
Before we get going, there's one thing I wanted to talk about just in terms of the reaction right now to Tyrod Taylor, because it is generally across the board, people are already jumping ship.
Oh, sure.
Come on. Settle down, guys.
Extremely jumping ship. So, with the whole Tyrod thing, it's I think there needs to be a certain element of let's all take a deep breath and not freak out, because we got to manage some expectations. We don't have Phil anymore.
Absolutely.
This guy on Twitter, it was the perfect example of, this is the best quote I've read on anyone talking about this. His name was Tyler Schoon, I believe. And he said, if you were all in on Tyrod Taylor but have jumped ship after one game, as your unpaid Asian financial advisor, I strongly warn against playing the stock market. It's what game,
awesome.
man?
Absolutely.
That was the perfect tweet to just sum it up with a laugh. Calm down.
We won.
Yeah.
We won.
Calm down.
It wasn't pretty, but we won. And okay, I know. Okay, all right, never mind. I'm not gonna say that. But we didn't turn the ball over.
Absolutely.
Wait, hold on. Go back. Go back. You got to say what you weren't going to say, because I need to know what that would have been.
Yeah, get it out.
Okay, well, I tracked the Colts game, and it just reminded me a lot of ex-Charger games.
Sure.
And there was a couple minutes on the clock, and the game was on the line, and turnovers happened.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's not what we had. And so, like, we're always going to have a chance if we don't turn the ball over.
Right.
This game, we didn't even have field position. Usually, if you don't turn the ball over, you have good field position all game. We didn't even have that, and we were still in the game
Mhm.
with a good defense and no turning the ball over. You have a chance always, and that's exactly what we had, and we were able to come out with the W. Our offense is gonna get better.
Mhm.
That was the first game we've ever played with this offense, with that quarterback, with several pieces of our offensive line, with this OC calling this offense. It's gonna get better. It's hard. I understand it's hard because we have this shiny new quarterback that we drafted in the first round. Everyone's going to want to toss him in there and hope he's throwing for 300 yards a game and 5 touchdowns.
Right.
That's not going to happen.
No.
If you tossed him in there right now, it would be turnovers, unfortunately, a lot more than what we're going to see with Tyrod. For this season, especially early in the season, the first 6 to 8 weeks, Tyrod is our best chance of winning football games. I firmly believe that.
Yeah, absolutely. Give the guy a chance.
Agreed.
And yeah, it's not going to be like it was last season. It's not going to be, Austin Eckler blowing it up, at least it's the first game. It's not even the first preseason game. We had 0 preseason games for these guys to work out any kinks in the offense and try to get something, going. Cause that was the thing, was like, they just couldn't find their groove. They couldn't make those big drives down to the end zone. And when they did, they couldn't get in.
They're just a couple inches short on putting up a couple touchdowns.
Exactly.
Really. It's just like, this could be a different thing, and we could have won by 14 to 20 points, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like we weren't refined yet. And maybe, hopefully, this is a big eye-opening shit, guys. Let's get on this right now, because we have the Kansas City Chiefs coming into SoFi Stadium for our first game there.
Yeah.
And we don't want to look bad.
No.
Let's just call it what it is.
Let's put a pin in it this way. We lost so many games last season from one possession. We won our first game within one possession. So let's
go.
Be happy that we're on the right side of the field. So
yes, sir.
Yes,
1-0.
sir. 1-0 going into week 2 against the Chiefs. Some key things to look at here on their injury report. Chavarius Ward, the cornerback, fractured his hand. We shouldn't be seeing him, or Kalen Saunders, who dislocated his elbow. Ouch. And defensive end Alex Okafor.
Okafor, you're right. You had it
okay, the
time.
F. My eyes, man. Alex Okafor strained his hamstring. So we don't have those guys to look for. And I'm pretty sure Breland is still on his suspension as well. So we shouldn't be seeing him in the backfield either. But the Chiefs are on a 10-game win streak. I'm assuming that includes the Super Bowl. And the last time we beat the Chiefs was back in 2018, which was the sweetest win I've ever seen in my life.
That was so nice.
The Mike Williams 2-point conversion game.
No, that was
2-point
beautiful.
conversion, baby.
So let's go into this week to support the Chargers, man. They're playing at home. It's the first game at SoFi Stadium against the Super Bowl champs. Is it going to be easy? Hell no, it's not. None of these games are going to be easy for this Chargers team that is fresh and new with still things to work out. But you know what? It's going to happen, and we're going to see it next week. So let's turn it over to our banged up coach, who I'm sure you guys probably heard it in the instant reaction, but just to reiterate, my man, Kyle, the coach Duggan, has 3 fractured ribs and his hip, and he showed it to us earlier. He's 50% black and blue, folks. The fact that he's even breathing is a miracle to science itself. So let's just be thankful that we have the coach here to sit in his corner, and he can let us know what to look out for in the next game. What do you got for us, Kyle?
Yeah, boys, I've been sitting on the couch for the last 2 days looking forward to these podcasts. This gives me something to look forward to instead of just sitting in my recliner. Yeah, so there's a couple of I wanted to touch back on a little bit of this last game because I actually have tape to look at. The one big play, right? Everyone's kind of frustrated with that Joe Burrow touchdown. It just looked too easy.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell happened? So they did a good job. They ran spread, so they were in an empty set. No running backs. Joe Burrow was back there all alone. We were in our defensive front was in 2-3 techniques and 5 techniques. So our interior linemen, our nose tackle and tackle, they were both outside of the guard. So that left both A gaps, which is the gap between the center and the guard, wide open. The only guy in the middle of the field, because there's so many wide receivers, there's 5 out there. There's 3 to one side, 2 to the other. Our middle linebacker, both Kenneth Murray and Nick Vigil, they both bumped out of the box. They were all the way out over the wide receivers. It's hard. As a defensive coordinator, deciding how to defend an empty set is very difficult. Usually you come up with a different way every week for the most part. What it looked like we did is we manned up our outside guys. Our corners manned up with the number 1 receiver, which the number 1 is the one farthest outside. So they were man to man. And then we were playing this weird cover 3 type of zone against the rest of them. But what that required was our linebackers to bump out in case they run any kind of quick screens. And it left the middle of the field wide open. I think that was a little bit of a tactical flaw. We should have put one of our nose tackle, Limbaugh, should have been down in there in a 1 technique, which is on the center, just to make it a little more difficult for that QB draw. Because what happened was our safety was sitting at 10 yards over the center. So he was the one that was supposed to make that play. Joe Burrow saw it, checked to a QB draw right away. He took 1 step back and took off.
Right.
Unfortunately, our safety was one-on-one with Rayshawn Jenkins, was one-on-one with the center. Rayshawn picked aside to force Joe Burrow to the left, and Nasir Adderley completely blew the play. Unfortunately, if you go back and watch it, it almost looked like he didn't want to hit Joe Burrow. He came downhill way too hard. As soon as Rashad went to one side, he ended up tripping over Rashad Jenkins, who was getting blocked backwards by the center. But he had to choose. Rashad had to choose one side or the other. He probably chose the wrong side because it looked like Nasir was shading over AJ Green, who was on the right side of their formation. You could go back and blame it on a lot of people, but right. I would assume he could have gone the other way to force it towards where he knew Nasir was. But Nasir took a really bad angle, and after that, it was game over. It just wasn't a good tactical play. We got caught off unprepared, to be honest. So that was a tactical issue. The only player that didn't make a great play was Nasir. And the other thing was Kenneth Murray was kind of flat-footed. When you're running a zone, your eyes should be going between the quarterback and the receiver, back and forth, back and forth. He was locked onto his man, and when he looked back to see Joe started running, and he was flat-footed, didn't really move. So it was kind of a rusty week 1 play. I don't know if we didn't think that Joe Burrow could run like that because he ran at LSU. Yeah. But it wasn't a very good defensive play whatsoever. So that was kind of tough to go back and watch again. At the time, you're like, oh, wow, that was an athletic play. But in reality, you look back, that was kind of a bad tactical issue, and the execution wasn't all there. So that play, kind of a bummer to go back and watch because we definitely should have been able to stop that from happening. One of the great things that I loved watching on offense, obviously moving the pocket. They talk about that all the time, moving the pocket. It gets your quarterback on the run. But what it also does is it makes those defensive ends second guess. They can't just take off upfield. They don't know where that quarterback's going to be. When we had Phil back there, you know Phil's going to be a 3-step or a 5-step drop. Right. But you know the exact point he's going to be once he stops. The defensive ends we play against, they're going to have to consider, oh, shoot, is Tyrod going to roll to my side? I got to get some width and get out.
And then stiff arm you and then throw, which was awesome.
Exactly. Yeah. And we did do a lot of chipping. If you guys watched, the point that I made on the last episode was that we might line some tight ends or some wide receivers up close to the tackle to help give a little chip before they went out. We did a lot of that. So that too makes those defensive ends second guess. Am I going to get hit am I going to need to push against this chip that I get? So I think that really helped our offensive line, that because Sam Tevy didn't look bad. There was nothing that was glaring that, oh man, Tevy had a crap game. So I think that was really, really helpful. We need to execute more, and Tyrod obviously missed a couple of throws pretty bad, but I think we did a good job of that. And finally, from a coach's corner from last game, there was one play that I loved. I know my dad listening to this episode knows this because I tried to get him to install it and run it every week when he was my offensive coordinator. It's just a speed option. Tyrod took the ball, sprinted at the end. If the end stayed to tackle him, he pitched it to Eckler, and Eckler had that 12, 13-yard run. And it was just so easy. You don't even have to block that well. It was just quick because our quarterback can run. He ran at the end. If the end goes wide to try to take our pitch guy, he'll keep and run for 5-6 yards. He runs at Tyrod. Tyrod pitches. Eckler got 12 yards. It's just such an easy, simple play that was so effective. Sometimes it gets lost in the shuffle when you're watching a game, but stuff like that just throws teams off. That defensive end is so confused on what's happening every play. You know, like, am I going to get blocked? Are they going to roll out? Is it going to be a drop back? There's just so much more for them to think about. They can't just...
Yeah.
Exactly. You're slowing them down by them having to calculate what's happening a lot more than what we used to do. So from that aspect, I really enjoyed watching our game. I think it's going to take a couple weeks for us to start clicking at full speed.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, it took Tom Brady all week this week to start clicking. He can't even figure it out with no preseason game. So
Right.
I think we need to give ourselves a little bit of a break. But looking forward to the Chiefs, the big thing is us stopping their run, which I think is a great opportunity for us because we have that ability.
Mm-hmm.
It's just going to be what you give up in the passing game to stop the run. They have so many threats to catch the ball. A lot of teams probably have to go nickel a lot, bring in that extra defensive back. And if you do that, you lighten up your box and it allows them to run. So you see Clyde Edwards-Helaire running for 138 yards last week.
Right.
It's probably due to the fact that the Texans lightened their box and took linebackers out a lot. So our front four are going to have a great game.
Linval, let's go.
Exactly. So that's the real matchup I'm looking for. If we go light with our bringing Chris Harris down into that slot corner and bringing Trevor or one of our other corners in to play on the outside, whatever we do there, if we lighten our box at all, those five in the middle, if our one linebacker and 4 D linemen got to step up and make some plays, that'll be huge, huge, huge for us.
Excellent. Well, there you go, folks. The professional coach corner breaking it down for you, telling you all to stop belly aching and be happy that we've got a defense that can stop the frickin' run game. So that's what we got to look forward to going into week 2 against the Chiefs. And before we get to our bold predictions, we got ourselves a fan focus. What do we got, Kev?
So we got John from Costa Mesa. He's our numbers guy who did the full breakdown on Tyrod and his third down conversions and everything. So he had some interesting insights, things I didn't realize. I just don't look at the stats that closely, and he does. So
interesting.
He gave us some good insight. So
all right,
let's hit it.
Let's hear it.
All right, we are back with John from Costa Mesa, our numbers guy who gave us the amazing breakdown of Tyrod Taylor a couple weeks. Thanks for coming back on, John. We appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
Awesome. So basically everything that you told us in terms of the third downs with Mr. Tyrod Taylor kind of came to fruition in this game. So kind of what were your thoughts on the game and kind of how it played out?
Yeah, so it was kind of interesting because if you kind of recall from the details of last time, it was like he was really bad in like specific situations, but I felt like with this game he was pretty bad like the whole time. Like just those third downs just seemed so kludgy. Yeah. So it was disappointing to see like how bad it was. A couple things I noticed that were interesting though is like from last time what I found is like what he was often doing was taking too many checkdowns or having like scrambles that didn't work. And he actually didn't really do that too much. It's kind of like he found new ways to not convert on third down. It seemed like instead of like taking checkdowns or scrambling, he was just kind of throwing it deep inaccurate balls on third down. And they're not quite throwaways because there was plays to be made, but it just seemed like kind of half-hearted attempts at getting first downs.
Yeah, he was definitely throwing over people's heads a lot in the beginning, and I was just like, it's a hard thing because Phil was a gunslinger who was incredibly accurate. Like we were lucky for a long time. So like my expectations is when Mike Williams is open and he's making a contested jump catch, the ball's going to be where it needs to be. And that wasn't quite the case on Sunday. And it was kind of unfortunate. So what do you think in terms of what were some of the positives you saw? Or did you see anything positive from Tyrod's game?
To be honest, I don't think there's many positives. I think the one thing, though, that did give me a little bit of perspective was my whole expectation of Tyrod is he would be average, like league average, just kind of like we'd be the 16th best offense, 16th in scoring, 16th in yards, something like that. And they didn't look average. They looked really poor, like bad in my opinion. But then if you actually check where they stood against the league as a whole over the week, it was like 16th. The whole league kind of sucked. So
nice, you called it.
So I'm just like, yeah, I'm like, I even remember I was on like Reddit and being like, oh, this looks way worse than I expected. But, you think about teams like the Cowboys who've like all this offensive firepower and they scored one more point than us, and so I'm like, maybe calm down. Like the whole league is struggling to put up points this week, except for like the Chiefs and the Packers. But, it's a weird week and, give it another week, 2 weeks, see how it goes. But, if I see like a couple more performances like that, I'll be like calling for Herbert, even though I was like hoping to have him redshirt the whole year.
For sure. Yeah. There's a certain stress level of like a lot of people are there. Like I said, their expectations of having a Phil and having this certain thing they've had for so many years. And we don't have that anymore. So I think the immediate thing is like, get rid of him, get rid of him, get rid of him. But he won. He didn't turn the ball over. He threw for over 200 yards. It wasn't, there were some bad things, but there is room for improvement. And he didn't this is a brand new offense for us. Like the pistol formation. What? The Chargers run the pistol? Get out of here. So there's a lot of things to grow on. So, overall, what was your take on just the game as a whole for the Chargers?
Yeah, it's funny because again, like one of these, like, what are you expecting going to the season? Everyone's like, they're going to win with their defense. They're going to run the ball. They're going to have low scoring games. They're going to keep it tight. And that's pretty much exactly what happened. It was uglier than you would have hoped. And, you had to rely on a missed kick at the end of the game to prevent overtime. But it was kind of like the net result, as far as ugly as it was, I just think it kind of landed where you expect. And so I think there's some stuff to build on. Yeah. The two, like, I'm going to go down the statsy route again.
Yeah.
Two things that I think they did poorly in this game were their red zone offense was really bad and their short yardage, like fourth down attempts, were really bad. And those two things are actually, most people think they're pretty random. So them just having a bunch of failures is something you don't really expect to carry forward. So I think they got to improve on that just by like regression to the mean. And I think they can be decent. It was just a reminder though. Yeah. Like we were lucky to have a actual like elite quarterback for years and years and years. And now we kind of got like a game manager replacement level guy, and it can win games. It's just not as fun to watch.
So next week, what are your thoughts? Honestly, what do you think is going to happen?
I am very pessimistic. I have to admit, just it's the Chiefs. They're coming off a Super Bowl. We put up 13 points or 16 points. You're not going to beat the Chiefs with 16 points. I'm not expecting them to win or maybe not even cover the spread. The one thing I did say like the other day to someone is like, our only hope is you think that like last year when they played the Chiefs, Phil turns it over 4 times and they still had a chance to win it in like the final play.
Yeah.
So if you have a guy like Tyrod who's not going to turn it over, and the Chargers defense has actually been matching it pretty well against Mahomes. So,
yeah, they've held him to some of his lowest passing yardage games, some of the lowest offensive games the last couple times they played.
Actually, one interesting stat I read is every time he's played the Chargers, he set a career low in passing yards.
I love it. Let's keep that train rolling.
And down. There's other factors in there, but it doesn't show that they match up pretty well. And maybe they get like a really crazy defensive performance, don't turn the ball over. Maybe they pull off the upset, but we'll see.
Awesome. All right, John. Well, appreciate you coming on again, man. And tell everyone a little bit about the stats. You mentioned you're going to release some new stats and a new look at kind of the team. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I'm putting together a post for Reddit where I'm looking at like predictability of play calling. And basically just everyone's always complaining, I know what they're going to do. They're going to run here. They're going to pass here, and saying we're the most predictable team in the league. It comes out that they are one of the more predictable teams. But one of the interesting things is that you look at who's the most predictable team in the league. It's the Patriots. So being predictable is not actually necessarily the bad thing that you might think. And there's some interesting wrinkles about who the least predictable teams are and what makes them unpredictable. So, just giving a little preview, I'm still working on the numbers, but maybe we could talk about that sometime soon.
Absolutely, man. Well, we look forward to that. And again, thank you for coming on, and we'll talk soon.
Definitely.
Thanks, John.
Take care.
So you're saying there's a chance?
Yeah, they're good points. Like last year, 4 interceptions. That's what it is. Right. We had 400 and we're still in that game because our defense holds him unlike anyone else. And we have so much experience against the Chiefs. So
here's the thing. If you want exciting gunslinging, you're going to get picks.
Mm-hmm.
If you want no picks and you want conservative play, it's not going to be as exciting.
Right.
You
That's
got
what
to
he
pick
said.
your poison.
Yeah.
There's not everyone's you're not going to get a Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson on every single team. So it's like we all knew what the season was going to be, and then that's what we got.
Right.
And now all of a sudden everyone's pushing the panic button. It's like, allow us to find our feel for our new identity before we go jump ship to Herbert. You know, at the end of the day, we got a W.
Yep.
Wasn't pretty, didn't look great, but I think Cincinnati's going to be better than a lot of people think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's the thing is like you barely beat the Bengals. How are you going to compete with the Chiefs? But that's relative. We don't know. There's such a small sample size. We don't know how good Cincinnati is.
Right.
We'll find out Sunday pretty quick in our new home and against the Chiefs, which is always one of my favorite games of the year because I live in Missouri and I'm always around these people and I'll be wearing extra Charger gear all week long. So bolt up from Missouri.
Up, baby. So week 2, looking ahead, Kansas City Chiefs. We're all curbing our expectations for what to expect, but we always have to make some kind of a bolt prediction. So Kev, what do you think the bolt prediction is going to be for this Kansas City Chiefs game?
This is so hard because, you know, I'm just going to be optimistic. I'm just going to do it. You know, hate on me if you want. I think it's going to be, I don't know, dude. I was trying to figure this out, like the most logical thing. I think if we can hold them down to 21, let's say 24-21 Chargers with Badgley Badgley would kick in the fourth quarter to win it. I think that's my bolt prediction for that. And Linval's going to have a lot of tackles. And
I like that.
Yeah, those are my thoughts. So shamelessly positive. Let's go.
I like
Bolt
it.
up.
I like it.
What about you, Kyle? What you got? What's your bolt prediction?
I got Bolts 2017. We're gonna hold the Chiefs to 17 points, boys.
Ooh.
And we're gonna get 3 total team sacks on Mahomes, which is gonna be just a sweet thing to see.
I like it. That's good. I'm gonna make a prediction that I don't want to necessarily happen, but I'm predicting it. This is what I'm seeing happen. I think.
Wooly.
This is me. I'm not going. It's going to be 50-49. Chargers win. I think it's going to be. I think there's going to be 0 touchdowns this game. I think it's going to be.
Whoa! What?
I think it's going to be
Are you
between
high?
the kickers. I think the defense is going to hold Patrick Mahomes to 0 touchdowns, but in return, I think they're also going to hold us to 0 touchdowns. I think it's going to be between kickers. I think it's going to be 18, 15.
Oh my God, Adam. This is the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life.
I think it's 18-15 Chargers. That's my bolt
Nice.
prediction. So
if that happens, you need to go get a lottery ticket.
I'm
my
just
friend,
saying I don't want it to happen, but I think our defense is just as you pointed out and John pointed out, defense has been worse for Patrick Mahomes. So I think there's a chance. 18-15 Chargers. So
God, what a.
And I'm not just saying that because
baffled.
Badgley's on my fantasy team. I'm not saying it for that. I just think that might be what
Has that
happens.
ever happened before? I'd be curious.
Sure. There's got to be a game where there's been no touchdowns.
But 18, 6 field goals?
6
I
field
don't know.
goals?
All right,
Yeah.
all right.
Of course. Of course.
Adam, you always you always thrill, Adam.
Let's
I love it.
see what happens, folks. So don't forget to tune in this Sunday, 2:05 or 2:25. I can't recall. Either way, it's our home opener in our brand new SoFi Stadium, folks. Tune in. Check it out. Root for your Chargers. Don't jump ship. Get back in the damn boat. Take your life vest off. We're still cruising. We haven't hit the iceberg yet. Just hold on. God. All right. That's it. All right. Don't forget, folks, to bolt up because we're ready for any squad, any place.
18-15. K, love you. Bye.
It's happening.
K, love you. Bye.
K, love you. Bye. And now, a word from our sponsors.
Say, Joshua, where'd you get that delicious-looking sandwich? What's that? You say you got it at Kelley's Deli? Well, I know what I'm having for dinner. Kelley's Deli's got it all. We got all your favorite heavy-hitting meats to put up some big points with your taste buds. Try one out today. Don't forget to try it with Melvin Gordon's Salty Tears seasoning. Now in Butterfinger flavor.